Give me 1 second here. I am attempting to go. This is always the one that gives me trouble, I tell you. Okay. So hopefully this is going now. All right. And if it is not, then it is not. So thank you very much for your patience. I don't know why I always struggle with this particular one. LinkedIn, you're killing me here. All right. So trying to figure out why this is not going. Okay. Well, it isn't. So we'll just have to do that another way. Okay. Welcome, everybody. It is, I keep wanting to say Topic Tuesday, but it is no longer Topic Tuesday because now we're on Wednesday. So this is ADHD Real Talk. So if you are new here, my name is Jory Houlihan. I'm your guide for the dopamine deprived, and I come here every Wednesday at noon Central Daylight Time to talk about something ADHD related for a few minutes. And so today I want to talk about piles. You know, the ones, the stack of mail on the counter that's slowly turning into the Leaning Tower of Pisa, the doom box, right? That you shoved into the closet 10 minutes before guests arrived 3 months ago, and you haven't, opened it since then. And oh, by the way, did you know that DOOM is actually an acronym for Didn't Organize, Only Moved? Fun fact. Anyway, so it also can look like the digital desktop that looks like an icon explosion on your home screen. So for most of us with ADHD, these piles aren't just inanimate objects. They are monumental, they're just monuments of shame. They're just monuments of shame. We look at them and we hear that voice, right? That says, oh, you're so lazy. Why can't you just be an adult and clean this up? So I recently had a conversation with Barbara Hemphill. She is a pioneer in the organizing industry, and she said something that really made me rethink how I saw clutter. I just saw clutter as I heard one other person call it, what is it? Little piles of little reminders. Organized piles of little reminders. I just looked at them as, I need to get organized. But she said that clutter isn't a sign of laziness and that it isn't a character flaw, that clutter is really postponed decisions. Now, Barbara also has ADHD, by the way. And she said that's what it is. That's it. That's the whole definition. Okay, so today I want to break down why that shift in perspective matters so much for our brains and how we can start making those decisions without spiraling into the inevitable overwhelm, which is one of the reasons that we don't make those decisions, right? So let's look at why we postpone these decisions. Okay, procrastination is kind of a hallmark sign of ADHD. Why is it so hard to look at a piece of paper and decide to throw it away? Like, why is that so hard? Because it is for us, right? So Barbara pointed out that a major blocker is fear, right? So for ADHD brains, we constantly run simulations, right? Or what I call, we tend to catastrophize. We pick up a cable we haven't used in 6 years and think, but what if I need it? What if something happens and I need it? What if I buy a vintage printer next year that needs this specific port? With everything, okay? We do this with everything. We keep things because we are afraid of a future scenario where we might need them. So she suggested a pretty practical way to short circuit this. And I was actually pretty proud of myself because this is something that I have already been doing. So it was sort of nice to hear that I was doing something the right way for once. She said, instead of asking, is it possible I'll need this? Which of course the answer will always be yes. Ask yourself, what is the worst thing that could happen if I throw it away or if I got rid of it? Right? Now really play that out. If you shred that credit card statement from 2018, what happens? What is the worst case scenario? Right? You have to log into your online account and hit print. Right? If you toss that mystery cable I just talked to, worst case, you spend $8 on Amazon 3 years from now, maybe. So she calls it the art of wastebasketry. Say that 5 times fast. Anyway, it is about asking if you are willing to pay the price of keeping the item. I thought that was a very interesting way of looking at it, right? Are you willing to pay the price? Because the price is your space, your time, your energy, your sanity, right? And because right now, that clutter is absolutely costing you energy every time you look at it. So now I want to talk about the flip side of this, right? The stuff we actually do need to keep. So if you're anything like me, you probably hate filing. And there is a good reason for that, beyond the fact that it's just boring. So so traditional filing systems are where documents go to die, right? And especially for those of us with object permanence issues, where out of sight literally means out of existence, right? Putting a piece of paper in a drawer feels like just sort of throwing it into a black hole. Like we probably will never see it again. So we ask ourselves, where should I file this? Do I put the car title under the example she gave is, do I put the car title under C for car, A for auto, V for vehicle, or T for Toyota? Now, if you file it under car, but you're going to go 6 months later to go look for it, and you're going to look under Toyota because you're going to forget you put it under car. You'd be like, why wouldn't I put it under Toyota? That will be your logic. Ask me how I know this, right? And when that happens, you're sunk. You're never going to find it. Again, ask me how I know this. So, and that anxiety is why we tend to leave papers on our desk, right? If we can see it, we haven't lost it. So one of the things that Barbara suggested was flipping the script. So instead of asking, where do I file this? Start asking, where do I find this? It sounds like a subtle difference in that it really isn't much of a difference, but it's actually pretty huge. Okay. It's about creating a finding system, not a filing system. So think of it sort of like a Google search for your physical life, right? You need an index. So you can use a digital app, just a simple spreadsheet. You need a way to tell yourself the car title is in the green bin or wherever it is, right? That way you don't have to remember where you put it. Remember, we want to lighten that mental load, y'all. And this is a way you can do it. You just have to look up where it lives, and this removes that memory load from your brain. And we all know working memory is already working overtime, so this can do nothing but help you. Okay? So when you're filing, you pull up the spreadsheet, you type in whatever the thing is and where you put it. Boom, done, right? Now, there is another aspect of this. So I'm going to shift gears to something that is a bit heavier, okay, but it is necessary. Sometimes the clutter isn't about logistics, but it's about emotion. So in my interview with her, she talked about how clutter is often a symptom of emotional blockages, specifically grief or trauma. My dog is probably going to start barking because the male person is here and he can't help himself. So anyway, I may have to chill out for a second. But anyway, she told the story about a man who was paralyzed by his paper clutter because his mother had died when he was 6. And the papers to her represented a connection to the past that he was terrified to lose. Now that during this interview, that one really hit home for me, okay? Because I lost both of my parents in a very short period of time. And they've been gone for over 10 years now, and I still have bins of photos that I haven't touched. And Barbara said something that I needed to hear that day. You have to be willing to go through the emotion to get organized. I thought I had dealt with it. Apparently, I did not. So we avoid boxes because we want to avoid the feelings inside them, right? But suppressing that anger and that sadness, that takes a massive amount of energy. It's exhausting to keep those emotions stuffed down, and that exhaustion makes it incredibly difficult, if not impossible, to make decisions about anything going on in your life, right? So if you are stuck on sentimental items, give yourself some grace, right? You aren't disorganized. You're human. You really are. And you don't have to do it alone. Body doubling, asking a friend to sit with you, or even hiring a professional can help that process. And it can help you process the emotion, okay, so that you can release the item. So, how do we move forward from here? It's a great question. So, if you are feeling motivated to tackle a space, I want you to remember one rule that Barbara shared. She said it's a 10-minute cleanup. Now, we've all been here, right? You're organizing your closet, you're in the zone, you're tossing out old shirts, and then you find a coffee mug that belongs in the kitchen. Now, how did the coffee mug end up in the closet? Anybody's guess, but we have ADHD, so it's entirely possible. So, what you make that rookie mistake and you go and you take that coffee mug out to the kitchen, right? And when you walk into the kitchen to put it away, you see a pile of mail. So you start opening the mail. And then you notice a bill. So then you go into your office and suddenly it's 2 hours later. Your closet's still a disaster. You went online to start paying bills, but now you're researching the history of spoons. Is any of this resonating with some of you? I'm pretty sure it must be, at least a little bit. So here is the fix. When you are organizing your space, I'm begging you, do not leave the room. If you find something that belongs elsewhere, put it in a transfer pile or a box. I usually tell my clients have a throwaway, giveaway, put away box, okay? Or bag or whatever. Then you should reserve the last 10 minutes of this decluttering session to run around and put those things away. Put the transfer items or the put away items away. And don't start cleaning in those rooms. Just do that, right? Doing this will keep you focused and it prevents that feeling where you're moving fast but getting nowhere. Does anyone else ever feel like that? Just me? Pretty sure it's not. Anyway, remember that organization is not a one and done event. As much as that would be so nice, wouldn't it? But you don't put oil in your car once and expect it to run forever. Life gets messy, right? Systems break. That doesn't mean that you have failed. It just means you're living. And that's a good thing. So, if you take one thing away from today, I really want you to take this, right? First of all, be gentle with yourself. Really, your mess does not define your worth. I know for a lot of you, it does, and it shouldn't. Okay? It's just a series of decisions waiting for you to be ready to make them. Right? Go out and I want you to tackle a small pile today, even if it's just like 3 pieces of paper. Okay? And let me know in the comments, what are you going to tackle first? And which of Barbara's suggestions are you going to try to do it? Okay? Just one small pile, right? And share it on Instagram and tag me in it so I can see it. Because sometimes that's all it takes to really get some momentum going, right? You start with a few things, and the next thing you know, you've cleaned an entire. It's productive procrastination very often, but I'll take it, and you'll feel better, even if it's just those 3 items, right? You're gonna feel so much better. All right, that's it. I want you to have an amazing week, and of course, I want you to stay curious. Have a really great week, and I will see you next Wednesday. Mm.